Alright, you watching? Okay. I closed it like the true magician that I am. And it was just like right on the line of I don't really want to eat these. Hello and welcome to our channel. My name is Crystal. I'm making pickles today. We've been collecting the pickling cucumbers from our plants outside in our garden. I have a pretty decent amount, not the amount that the recipe says. I weighed the pickling cucumbers and I have about 5 pounds of those. I think it's mostly Chicago pickling. I think my Boston pickling cucumber didn't produce anything. It like gave me one a while ago and then it just wilted and that was the end of that one. So yeah, I'm just gonna be doing that today. If you could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, I would super appreciate it. Now let's get started. I'm gonna be making a recipe that I haven't made before. Last year when I made pickles, I used this one. It's at the beginning of the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. This is what the book looks like. At the beginning, they have the deli sandwich slices. The taste for the deli slices was good. The consistency of the pickles was meh. They were kind of crunchy on the outside, but it was just like right on the line of I don't really want to eat these. This year, I'm trying Grandma's Dill Pickles. In the book that I am in, it is on page 326. I have the cucumbers, I sliced off the blossom end and I sliced off the stem end, and they have been sitting in a large stainless steel bowl with pickling salt and water. I'm eager to get these out of here and get them canned up. I just pretty much followed the recipe that's in the Ball book of day one and how to get them in a saltwater bath and into the refrigerator for about a day or so. We are on day 2 in the book. In life, I think I may be on day 3 or 4. First thing I'm gonna do is preheat the water bath canner. It says to prepare the canner, jars, and lids. I am not pulling the jars out of the dishwasher this time. These are the jars that I'm using. They're completely clean and washed. I've been keeping them upside down up here. Since the day I made the jam, these have been cleaned and ready to go. I don't really want the jars hot when I'm doing the cucumbers because I'm going to try every different way to keep these crunchy. One of the ways I'm starting with is the room temperature, but I'm gonna take the risk of cracking one for the sake of crunchy pickles. So I'm going to try it. I'm using these wide mouth pint jars. It says that you need 8 pounds of pickling cucumbers. I have 5. So it's a mixture of Chicago Pickling and some Space Saver cucumbers. It says to tie the pickling spice into cheesecloth and put it in the thing. I actually bought a thingy. I bought this thingy at Home Goods. Instead of wrapping the pickling spice in cheesecloth, I'm going to use this instead. It's a tea ball. Ideal for tea and spices. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put the spices right into this ball and then like hang it on the side of the pot. And we'll use that instead. Hopefully it's easier cleanup. You need 2 tablespoons of pickling spice for the recipe. I'm gonna mostly follow the recipe as it is and probably know that I'm gonna have extra brine that maybe I'll use on something else. For now, I'm just gonna follow the recipe as it is. I'm gonna use the Ball mixed pickling spice. And it says you need 2 tablespoons, so I'm going to assume that each one of these sides of this thing is a tablespoon. So I'm just going to fill each and then put them together somehow. Oh wow, that smells really good. I like that. That's much better than the whatever we used last year. Okay, so 2 tablespoons of this. This is a tablespoon. That's each side is easily a tablespoon. All right. I'm gonna try and do it. All right, you watching? Okay. I did it. You little snappy thing. There you go. Look at that. Okay, I got the pickling spice into this little thingy here. I closed it like the true magician that I am. So here they are. They look okay. These have been in here, you know, a couple days like this. Here's the pot that I'm going to be using to make the brine. Alright, so we've added 8 cups of water. Now we need to add 6 cups of white vinegar. We're going to add 3/4 of a cup of pickling salt. 1/4 cup of sugar. And our spice bag. And I'm just gonna go ahead and hang it off the side and bring this up to a boil. It says to bring to a boil over medium-high heat. And we're gonna wanna stir this a little bit. I have not cut them up yet. I probably should have, but I honestly didn't know how I was gonna do these yet. All right, these ones I'm gonna cut into pickle chips. Slice them up about that thick. That's how they look on the inside after sitting in the water salt mixture for a couple days now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the water bath canner because it's pretty heated up. So the next thing I'm gonna do is get all the dill rinsed off, washed off really good, and then cut up and ready to fill the jars with. I have all the dill cut up, and then the recipe says to add 1 whole clove of garlic to each of the jars. It needs more of a smashy. There we go. I have 4 cloves here, and I'm just gonna cut them in half. And that should be enough. Alright, so those are ready. The brine has come to a boil. I turned the heat down slightly and I set the timer for 15 minutes. It's going to boil for. Now we are going to prepare our jars. They're already clean and everything like that, and I have inspected them, made sure that there's no chips or cracks or anything like that. I did not heat these up because I don't want to add the cucumbers to hot jars. So I am taking a little risk that they might crack. I'm actually going to be letting the brine cool before I add it over the cucumbers, so I'm not too worried about it. The recipe says 1 whole clove of garlic per jar, but I'm just adding about a half. I'm going to sprinkle in some of this dill from our garden. And then I'm gonna save some to put on top of the jars as well. And we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of mustard seed. And the recipe doesn't say this, but I am gonna be adding a ½ teaspoon of peppercorn medley. And that's how it looks. Okay, now I'm gonna be packing in the cucumbers. Rinsed them off in the sink. I'm just gonna start packing them in the jars. It says that you want to leave a generous ½ headspace at the top of the jar, and the headspace is the space between the contents of the jar and the top of the jar. And then I'm going to use my wooden pickle packer here to press them down. I think I'm going to add the rest of the dill now so that when I pack the rest of them in, the dill doesn't stick to my pickle packer thingy. The recipe specifically says 1½ fresh dill heads per jar. I did not measure. I just added however much we wanted. Got them all in there. Here's how it looks. There's about 5 minutes left for the brine to boil. The timer just went off. I turned the burner off here, and I'm gonna let this cool for a little while. The recipe does not mention letting the brine cool or anything. This is just something that I'm gonna try doing. I just don't wanna pour boiling hot brine over the cucumbers because that's something I've done in the past and it hasn't worked out well. This year we're gonna try letting this cool, and then I will pour it over the cucumbers, process them as quickly as possible, and immediately take them out when they're ready. All right, so I have let the brine here cool. It's probably been, I don't know, maybe a half hour or so. It's still warm. Can't like leave my hand on the pot, but it's not boiling hot. I'm gonna turn the water bath canner back on. I like these spoons because it's easier for me to angle into this. The bigger ladle I have a hard time with. So it said that you want a generous 1/2 inch of headspace. So a 1/2 inch would be there. And then you want to take your bubble tool and get the bubbles out. Add some more brine. And I'll set that one over here. I wanted to put the Pickle Crisp in before I added the brine, but I forgot, which is fine. It probably works out a little bit better that way. So I'm going to be adding a 1/8 of a teaspoon to each of the pint jars. I don't have a 1/8 of a teaspoon measuring spoon, so I'm going to just use this 1/4 teaspoon here and fill it up halfway, like that, and sprinkle it over. Probably better that I didn't add the Pickle Crisp before the brine, because it probably just would have ended up either spilling out or getting stuck to my pickle packer thingy. Now the rims are really messy from the brine and stuff, so I'm going to grab some white vinegar and a t-shirt rag and clean off each of the rims. Cleaning off anything that's on the rim of the jar will help create a better seal to the lid. Now we are going to take our clean lids here and just put them on the top of the jars. This is the wide mouth ring that fits the wide mouth jar, and we're going to put them on finger tight. So finger tight is just the tips of your fingers. That's it. The next step here for trying to keep these pickles crunchy is now I am going to actually let the water bath canner get up to a steady boil before adding the jars. Then I'm going to add the jars, lower them down, set the timer for 10 minutes, let it boil and process for 10 minutes, immediately turn the burner off and bring them up to let them cool for 5 minutes, and then immediately take them out. Normally when I'm doing sauces, or even when I'm doing like pickled jalapenos and stuff like that, where I don't worry too much about the consistency, I give or take a few minutes. You know, if I'm doing something else and I forget about it, it's no big deal. But for this process, I'm gonna be very strict on my times and make sure that it's 10 minutes in the canner, 5 minutes with the lid off, and then immediately out onto the towel. And hopefully that will result in crunchier pickles. If it doesn't, we will try something else. Alright, that is for sure a boil. I'm gonna kick the burner down a little. This is the first time I am not warming up the jars before adding them to the water bath canner, so I am a little bit nervous about a jar cracking, but it's all part of the experiment to see if this helps or not. Alright, now I'm going to lower them into the water bath canner. Each jar needs about 1 inch or so of water on top of the lids, which these have about 1.5 inches, so that'll be fine. Now I'm going to bring the burner back up to a boil. So I'm waiting for the water to get back up to a boil, and once it's had a steady boil, I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay, the timer is going off, so I'm gonna immediately turn the burner off, take the lid off, and I'm actually going to raise these up a little bit, like that, and set the timer for another 5 minutes. And then I will be back. The 5 minutes is up, so now I'm going to take the hot jars out and put them onto a towel. That is how they look. Doesn't look like any of them cracked, which is good. And there they are. Alright, so we canned up some pickles, and I tried a couple different techniques to hopefully get them kind of crunchy. We'll see if it works. The ones that we process in the canner will sit on the counter here for about a day or so, and then I will label them. So I'll just write what is the contents and the date that we canned them on top of the jar, and then I'll remove the bands and put them on to the shelf. And they'll sit there for a couple weeks before I try them. I'm really curious to see if they stay crunchy or not. But these are cucumbers from my garden, and I really hope that this recipe worked. I like that the brine is really clear. I enjoy that very much. That's it. That'll do it for this canning video. We will see you next time. Bye.